Warning, this list will discuss distressing topics involving animal abuse and death. Viewer discretion is advised. Game shows. I love them, and seeing as you clicked on this video, you probably love them too. They are an integral part of television history, being a staple of the medium since when TV was nothing more than fancy radio. From The Price is Right and Deal or No Deal, to Wheel of Fortune and its older sister Jeopardy, game shows have solidified themselves into Americana forever. But because of how long game shows have been on television, it's no wonder that over the years, tons of game show lost media lies below the surface, slipping slowly through the cracks of time. And it doesn't help that game show lost media is severely overlooked, which is a shame. There is seemingly an endless amount of game show obscurities that you can spend hours and hours scouring through. Today, we at the Media Busters will be discussing some of the wildest pieces of game show lost to media, 15 to be exact. Let's get started.
Number 1. Our first topic is one not featured on the Lost Media Wiki, which is where most of this video's information originates. In 1964, Jeopardy premiered on NBC, and 19 years later, it made its way across the Atlantic to the UK. This British version of the series was produced by Thames Television and Talbot Television, and aired on Channel 4 from January 12, 1983 to July 2, 1984, spanning 2 seasons. The show was hosted by Derek Hobson and was based on the original Art Fleming hosted series from 1964, as opposed to the Alex Trebek hosted series from 1984. Despite 2 seasons composed of 25 total episodes having been aired, not a single frame of this short-lived series has made its way online.
Number 2. In January 1975, the all-time classic Wheel of Fortune debuted on NBC. However, 23 years before, a show bearing the same name aired. This series had no connection to the Merv Griffin series that would debut over 2 decades later. From October 3rd, 1952 to December 25th, 1953, CBS aired its Wheel of Fortune. This series' premise is quite a bit more simple than the wheel on TV now. The series revolved around giving people who, quote, do good deeds rewards for their actions. They would answer questions given by host Todd Russell and could win a few $1,000 by spinning the wheel. The series' theme song was K-Star's 1952 hit, Wheel of Fortune, obviously, and was fairly popular despite its short run. It even got a primetime version that sadly only lasted a few months in mid-1953. Even though the series is obscure, it managed to get a new life across the Pacific in Australia, where it lasted from 1959 to 1962. No footage from the American version has survived, unfortunately, but a full episode, as well as a couple of clips from the Aussie version, have been archived.
Number 3. Press Your Luck, originally called Second Chance, is a classic in American television. However, this cannot be said about the UK version, airing on the HTV West regional ITV franchise for 2 seasons from 1991 to 1992. This version of Press Your Luck didn't hold a candle to the American version. The UK series was hosted by Pat Koya, and due to heavy regulations and budget issues, the grand, in quotes, prize was a mere £200. This series was regional and it only aired in the southwest of England. It's not much of a surprise to hear that there is no footage of the series online, despite it having aired only in the early 1990s.
Number 4. The Price is Right is America's longest-running daytime game show by far. The current incarnation is currently on its 51st season and has captivated audiences since its 1972 beginning. In 1993, Mark Goodson Productions believed that another primetime version of the show was due, because, that worked so well the past few times. And this was unlike any other primetime version of Price. The series had a revamped studio and very different rules, but like any other series, it had to have a pilot. And on August 3rd, 1993, a pilot was shot. Only a single short clip from this pilot has ever been seen, with it being in the show's intro. Other than that, nothing has surfaced. However, we do know a difference, or two, between the pilot and the eventual series. The pilot was hosted by KTLA anchor Mark Kriski, as opposed to actor Doug Davidson, who will go on to host the series. It is also speculated that the set went unchanged in the pilot and used the same set as the daytime series. Other than that, it's just pure speculation.
Number 5. Jeopardy needs no introduction, but it should be said that the series got its first run on NBC from 1964 to 1975. That's 11 years. It would be a shame if, I don't know, over 99% of the series was lost. This isn't even a joke. People have speculated that only 20 or so episodes out of the over 2,000 taped episodes have survived the NBC tape wiping practices. There's not much else to say about this entry because we know all about the original run. But dear lord, that is an outrageous amount of lost media that will probably never get found.
Number 6. It's a cool spring night in 1986. You just finished dinner, and you turn on your CRT box television and watch Jeopardy! 10 minutes in, you turn it off. It's almost unwatchable. It's not because of any signal problems. Oh no. It was returning champion Barbara Lowe. She won 5 games, which was the maximum at the time, but didn't end up in the Tournament of Champions. Why? 2 reasons. 1. She had appeared on other game shows quickly before her time on Jeopardy! And 2. Barbara Lowe wasn't a real person. I mean, she was, but there is no real Barbara Lowe. Hell, we don't even know what her real name is. But she ended up with around $50,000. Her 5 episodes have never been rerun, and only a minute-long clip of a final Jeopardy round in a 1987 interview with her has resurfaced on YouTube. If you'd like to learn more about this contestant, a video made by TMB member BrayBray will be in the description. Wait, that's me, just go watch the video, okay?
Number 7. In case you didn't know, Bob Barker, who hosted The Price is Right for 35 seasons from 1972 to 2007, is an animal rights activist and has been since the early 1980s. But from 1972 until he began his anti-animal cruelty activism, fur coats were often prizes on the show. As a result, these early episodes have been outright banned by CBS. There are only a few instances of a fur coat on the series archived online, all of which occurred within the first decade. Since 1982, fur coats have been banned from the series, and as a result, these lost episodes, for better or for worse, stay permanently lost.
Number 8. This entry, as well as the next, deal with a heavy topic of death. If this topic is sensitive to you, please skip ahead to the timestamp shown on screen. In 1972, 2 versions of The Price is Right began airing on CBS. The daytime version, hosted by Bob Barker, and the nighttime version with Dennis James. Most episodes of the James run are lost because many of the prizes were fur coats. However, there's one incident that overlooks them all. In a late 1976 taping, during a playing of cliffhangers, James remarked, calling the mountain climber Fritz. Unbeknownst to James was that Janice Pennington, the model present for this taping of Cliffhangers, had a husband named Frederick Fritz Stomberger. Stomberger went missing in the mountains of Afghanistan the year prior. This playing of Cliffhangers ended in a loss, which meant the climber fell over the mountain. When this happened, James remarked, "There goes Fritz." Because of this coincidental mishap, Pennington ran backstage and cried for the rest of the taping. And here's something that makes it even worse. Pennington wasn't even on board with doing Cliffhangers that day, but they forced her to do it anyways. Actually, she had never been on board to do Cliffhangers ever since its development, which makes it somehow even more bizarre. James later apologized to Pennington, saying they had no idea of Pennington's loss. Despite this massive controversy, the episode still managed to air. However, much like a bulk of the James run, this episode remains lost.
Number 9. The November 2nd, 1992 episode of Wheel of Fortune was to feature the puzzle Vanna's Pregnant in round 2. This was meant to announce the pregnancy of co-host Vanna White. However, this puzzle never made it to television, and for a tragic reason. Between the time of the taping and when the episode was supposed to air, Vanna White suffered a miscarriage. Because of this tragedy, Round 2 was replaced with a 3-minute behind-the-scenes look at filming the episode, which was a road game in San Francisco. This segment has never been seen since taping, and we believe it should stay that way.
Number 10. Getting back into the lighter topics, we have the partially lost pilot of the American version of Deal or No Deal. In July of 2021, a 2004 ABC pilot was found by a former game show host, Wink Martindale. This is just one of at least 5 pilots for the show. One of these lost pilots was for the syndicated version of the series, hosted by Arsenio Hall. It was taped in 2006 and had the grand prize of $250,000. This was later changed in 2008 when the syndicated version first aired to have Howie Mandel host and the grand prize being $500,000. Getting back to the pilot that Martindale found, it wasn't actually the only pilot shot for ABC. 3 other ABC pilots were filmed, with the winner of one taping receiving $250,000. Although we both know that they never received that lump of cash. Despite 4 attempts at getting ABC to greenlight the show, they passed, and it was eventually picked up by NBC the following year. Because ABC never picked up the series, the remaining 3 pilots made for ABC, as well as the Arsenio Hall hosted NBC syndicated pilot, may never see the light of day.
Number 11. In 1972, 7 years after the finale of the Bill Cullen run of The Price is Right, Mark Goodson and Bill Todman pitched a pilot to CBS for a primetime series reboot. This would eventually become both daytime and primetime, and then, of course, just daytime. Of course, CBS agreed to the reboot, and the rest is history. However, the pilot for the 1972 series is lost. There is a pitch film on YouTube, however, that many people believe to be the pilot. This is in fact not the case. The actual pilot, which was filmed 6 months after the pitch film, was first talked about by former series producer Roger Dobkowitz in 2019, stating that there was a run-through to make sure that things would run smoothly for CBS and its executives. This pilot used stand-ins as contestants and was filmed in Studio 33, now named the Bob Barker Studio, where the full series would end up being filmed. To this day, there has been no footage of this pilot that has been released, and it is highly unlikely that any will ever be.
Number 12. As previously mentioned, 1975 was the year that Wheel of Fortune first premiered. However, 2 years prior in 1973, the first pilot was created. This pilot had the working title Shopper's Bazaar and looked a lot different than the wheel we know and love today. Shopper's Bazaar is not lost though. Neither is the first pilot to bear the name of Wheel of Fortune, which was filmed in 1974. But at some point in the early 1970s, possibly before the Shopper's Bazaar pilot was taped, Marv Griffin, the creator of both Wheel of Fortune and Jeopardy, taped a run-through that was close to what the 1975 series would end up being. The run-through was given to NBC, and initially they ended up not taking the pilot. It wouldn't be for another couple of years before the show was greenlit. As of now, the only footage from this pilot that is available to us is from Game Changers, a 2017 documentary on game shows hosted by the late Alex Trebek.
Number 13. The modern run of The Price is Right is in its 51st season and has produced almost 10,000 episodes. However, the original 1956 run had a respectable 9 seasons. Because of how old the series is, and most of the series haven't been aired on NBC, a network known for their taper racing, not much of the series is available today. Only a handful of episodes of the Cullen era are available to view, with recordings being of varying quality because of the previously mentioned circumstances. The original run of The Price is Right will most likely stay mostly lost forever. Number 14. Much like the 1972 version of The Price is Right, the early seasons of Wheel of Fortune had a daytime and a nighttime version. Today, and since the late 1980s, the daytime version has been off the air. From 1975 to 1985, episodes of the daytime show were often taped over, leaving a bulk of these episodes of this period lost. These episodes include those hosted by Chuck Woolery from 1975 to 1981, and by the current Wheel host Pat Pliots. I'm sorry if I mispronounced that. From 1981 to 1985, although he would host Daytime Wheel until its end in 1989. Because most episodes were taped over, the only footage we have from the first decade of the daytime run comes from home recording and television archives. It's unknown how many episodes are lost, but I bet that most of them will continue to stay lost, unfortunately.
Number 15. Burger King Foot Lettuce. It did not take long for the 1972 version of The Price is Right to get an international version. From 1973 to 1974, the 0 to 10 network, now renamed Network 10, aired the Australian version of The Price is Right. The series was hosted by Gary Meadows and was announced by Kath Livingston. This Australian series was not just your standard international version. Staffer Bill Mason went across the Pacific to the CBS Studio Center and copied down the American price set, eventually using it for this version. Basically, the 1973 Australian version of The Price is Right was a copy of the American series. The theme song was copied, although it does sound a little different. Hell, they even used a variation of the American logo for the series, because of how old this was, and because Australian networks during this time were notorious for wiping and reusing tapes. Footage from this run is very scarce. Only a 9-minute black and white clip is available online. But from this clip, you can tell that this was almost a carbon copy of the American version of Price. Unfortunately, we may never know the true extent of how far they went from their copying. This piece of lost media will almost always certainly stay lost forever.
There you have it, some of the wildest pieces of game show lost media. Of course, there are much more than just 15 topics. If you'd like to see a follow-up video, leave a comment. Also, make sure to like this video and subscribe and click the bell icon to make sure you don't miss out on our next upload. This has been BrayBray from the Media Busters. Thanks for watching.